Okay, it is officially 7:30. People who are not here are on their way. They can wait. I'm here. That's all we count for. Wow, what a group. I did not expect as many people to come out, but I'm very pleased. Thanks for being here. Let me tell you this, what we're going to do tonight is, as many of you know, May the 2nd, which was my wife's birthday, by the way. She turned 37 again. I went to Comedy Cove down in Springfield, and we did stand-up comedy. And the picture you see on the wall is my supporting cast for tonight. This lady's name is Christina Faust. However, that's not a hip enough name for a comic, so she goes by C. Rex. There'll be more about her later on. I just wanted you to see her before we started. This goes way back. After about 50 years of struggling with shyness and basically lack of talent, I decided that I wanted to become a public speaker. And after all that 50 years, I found it came pretty easily to me after the first 20 or so years of trying. How I started off was I blindly joined my local Rotary Club. Now, for those of you that do not know Rotary, it's an international club made up of people who are in all walks of life, education, commerce, professionals. We get together about once a week, have a meeting, and there's always a speaker there that night. And you can imagine, with needing to get a speaker every week, the quality fluctuated from time to time, from the very good to the very bad. One night, they brought a guy in, and he actually fired up my comedy sparks. This guy was good. I liked him. He billed himself as the 25th funniest accountant in America. Okay, here it is. Okay. I found out by listening to this guy that he had given up a lot to become an accountant, including his joy and excitement with life, and he wanted it back. So what he did, he decided he was going to do something, and he came across an ad that said they were looking for the funniest accountant in America. So he said, I'm in that. I'm going to do that. So he went off, he sat down, he said he came in 25th. He embraced that thought. He called himself the 25th funniest accountant in America. And I want to tell you right now, I don't know how many people showed up for the competition. He might have came in dead last. But nonetheless, he did show up. And he was hoping that this would give him back his joie de vivre, pardon my French. One day, oops, I'm ahead of myself. He understood with that particular phrase that when life gives you lemons, you make limoncello. He went out and he wrote his 5 tight comedy minutes. That's something we all need if we're going to go to the comedy stores and do open mic night, which is a vicious competition. If you want to go, you've got more nerve than I have. After the meeting at Rotary, I sat down and I talked with this guy, and he was quite entertaining, and found out that if I wanted to do something, I had to start somewhere, and he suggested Toastmasters would be my best first place. If you're not familiar with Toastmasters, and I'm sure some of you are, Toastmasters is another group of people from all kinds of walks of life who have only one purpose, and that is to improve in public speaking. It's great fun, but it's work. And if you're shy as I was, it was difficult to get up there and grab that microphone. But with my wife's help, we got it done. We we learned it. Now the part of Toastmasters I like the most, they call table topics. Now table topics has somebody stand up like Bing, stay down with. And then we give him a subject. And Bing has to talk for 1 minute to 2 minutes on that very subject. Realize he just learned about it now and he has to start talking. It's difficult, it's scary, but it's great fun. Along with teaching us to think on our feet, Toastmasters also taught us all the aspects of good public speaking. Excellent program. Tell your kids and your grandkids about it because it really does help you in your career. My time with Toastmasters taught me to appreciate people who are gifted at public speaking. One example you know is Paul Rabinowitz. Familiar name?
Yeah.
Okay. He lectured here every month or so. Another one is Eric Rapkin, who I call E at the improv workshops. His class lectures on the internet are remarkable. And in these old videos, he looks like his own son. One day, my neurologist asked me if I would join a memory study doing improv comedy. Well, let's take a moment, go back over that statement again. My neurologist asked me if I wanted to do stand-up or improv comedy. Well, it turns out he has a friend in Philadelphia, and his friend had this idea that doing improv causes people to use different parts of their brain they aren't use all the time. So they're going to try that out. I signed up. I said, sure, I'm going to do that. Went to the first meeting. Everybody there was an old-timer like I was, except for our mentor. The gal who was going to teach us comedy improv was Leah Lawler. Now that name might be familiar to you because Leah teaches us comedy improv here at Winchester Gardens. So that's the connection. If you want to know where Leah came from, it came from that very thing. That phone call from my neurologist led us here. She was also the only young person there, which made it difficult for her, but she remarkably well adapted doing that. From Leah, I learned the nuances of improv and sharpened my existing comedy skills. It took a while, but we got it done. My next step, oops, jumped over that. I can't pass this up. I have to remind you that we did comedy improv for 7 seasons, and we were known as Leah's Legends. And we really did kick up a fuss out there. It was great fun. My next step was to enroll in an adult night school to learn stand-up comedy. Graduating required us to perform in front of a paying crowd at a local comedy club. That's a scary thought. I ask you, what could go wrong? At the first class, I noticed I was 20 years older than the next oldest person in the room. Soon enough, I was asked to take the mic and tell something about myself. This caught me flat-footed. And I remembered an old adage from Toastmasters, when you have butterflies in your stomach, just get them to fly in formation. That worked. Ooh, music. I did about 5 minutes and said, good enough. The more seasoned students launched into prepared comedy routines. I wondered if I missed the assignment. No, all the others were doing leftover bits from last semester. So I was truly the new guy here. One of the guys was taking the class for the 10th time. I kind of admire that much commitment. I slapped together a week routine by the next class and I was ready to go. Each week, our teacher, a comic named Jay, his full name was Dash J Dash, the professor of funny. I told him it wasn't funny. He walked us through our performances, noting our highs and lows. He used his sharp wit to offer effective suggestions. He and the class members were nothing like the cutthroat bullies I had expected. Each week, we could sense our improvements. With Dash J Dash's guidance and support from the others, we molded our feeble early bits into acceptable comedy routines. At our last class, we were joined by a local comic named Joe Larson. He answered questions and critiqued our performances with humor and spot-on advice. Turned out he was really good at this stand-up comedy stuff. We met him again at Scotty's Comedy Cove, where he just blew the house away. We were his opening act, let's put it that way. Well, it's show night, and I had practiced as much as my muse would allow. It was indeed time to get up there and prove my worth. I saw some friendly faces in the audience. My daughter, Beth, was there among with a dozen Winchester Garden residents. This show of support meant the world to me, just when I needed it. If you were there that night, thank you. We comics, we waited our turn in the dugout section of the club. I was fourth on the queue. As I stepped up, as I listened to the opening comments, I used my time reading the audience and studying the dreaded timing lights, which, that's another day worth of talking about. C-Rex, who you've met, introduced me. The expected feeling of calm I had hoped for didn't come. I swallowed hard and mounted the stage. At this point, let's watch the timing.
Trip on this. Alright, our next comic is from Downington, PA, where it says anything is possible, anything can happen, but nothing ever fucking does. He's out on a day pass from his home. His usual regimen of leisurely naps, chair yoga, and medicinal weed. I'd like to welcome to the stage one of my new favorite people in the world, John Morris.
Are you having trouble hearing that?
Yes.
Let's see if we can get any more juice out of this thing.
So,
It's cranked up to the beginning. Try it that way. I don't think that'll do much better, Bing.
recording this. I don't know. Last time it happened. Turn it off. Oh, it's kind of, yeah, so what is the next one?
All right. Well, that did not work. You can't hear it.
You remember the routine?
Yeah.
No, I don't know where I can find it either. This is what you learn at places like Toastmasters. You be prepared. You know, you have a backup plan for your backup plan. So, off we go. I will need my cane if I'm going to stand up. I only need it for standing and walking, you know. When I suggested to Deb that I do this thing, I said, well, you know, a lot of comics bring props to their routines. A guy named Carrot Head is a famous one for using props. So I said, may I bring a prop to the stage? And Deb said, sure, do what you like. So I brought this. Can you get any more literal than this? I'll end the speculation early. I was born in 1945. I can hear you doing the math in your head now. 92. I'd rather you heckled me. That night at Scotty's Comedy Cove, I was the oldest comic on the venue. Well, that's okay, because here at Winchester Gardens, I'm one of the hot young things. I currently live in Maplewood, New Jersey. You can say yay for that. Yay! And as my children like to refer to it, it's Geezer Stand. I'll let that one sink in. When I first got here to Winchester Gardens, I used to walk around and talk to people 4 to 6 hours a day, just having a great old time. And sure enough, I got pulled to the side of the road by Terry Minervini. She said, John, what are you doing? I said, well, Terry, don't you know there's 75% women here? She looked at me and said, no, John, there's 70% women here. Well, immediately I was hit by 2 different thoughts. One, I was that close. And 2, she felt the need to correct me. Heaven forbid a man go uncorrected. You like that one, Stan? I like Stan in my audience. He's a good sounding board. Now, I come from humble beginnings. How in the world did I ever able to live this life of luxury here at Geezer Stand? Well, like a lot of you, I found an Arabian lamp on the side of the road one day. I picked it up. We all know what to do when you find an Arabian lamp. You rub it. That is correct. Out popped the genie. The genie said, I'll grant you 1 wish. Well, wait a minute, genie. I'm supposed to get 3 wishes for setting you free. She said, well, let me see. You're Italian and you're living in America. You already have our top 2 wishes. We moved here to Winchester Gardens / Geezer Stand with my wife of 50 years. And she's still correcting me. Actually, she told me to wait for the applause. Well, when we first met, the last day of 1978. 68? 68, see? I tell you, I need correcting. 1968, last day. And I was just smitten with her all right away. But I had a lot of competition. There were a lot of guys out there chasing her. Well, did that bother me? Yeah, it did. Because a few of those guys were good looking. And a smaller number were rich. And an even smaller number were both. But they did not have what I have. I have her. We got married in her hometown of Salina, Kansas. Now, why did I do that? Well, I was a guest at my wife's wedding, and that's where she told me to be. We have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and, or as I like to say, we're 2 for 2. I did so well that the Vatican sent me a Bible signed by the Pope that said, "Attaboy." Much as I love my children, I wish I would have had my grandchildren first. I did not want to have children, but as it turns out, they're necessary if you want to get grandchildren. Now what's fun is watching my children raising their children using the same techniques that we did to raise them. Good things like pizza for breakfast and strangers have the best candy. Long time ago when I started to work, I wanted to be an actor. Broadway, Hollywood, one of those things. So I took lessons. My acting coach told me I had the face for radio. It doesn't end there. My radio coach told me I had the voice for newspapers. That's how I launched my career in newspapers. Before I made this routine up, I needed advice. I went to my comedy mentor, Dash J Dash, for some good advice about writing a comedy routine. He said, what you do, start off with a really good joke. Okay, that sounds good. Next one. Then you follow it up with several more really good jokes. All right, catching a theme here. Then he said, when you're ready, finish it up with a really good joke. That man could teach comedy. Okay, Jay, here's your really good joke. It's been quite a while, but I still remember the first time I got lucky. I was nervous and clumsy, but working together, we got across the finish line. And when it was over, I leaned back and thought, wow, this is great. And she gets paid to do this. That's what you've seen. If this would have worked, that's what you would have seen. I'll let you ask questions. This crowd doesn't have a question. Good thing I brought my own. Oh, Pat.
Yeah. I noticed that you're looking occasionally at a piece of paper. But I thought originally, and I was very threatened by this whole idea, that it all had to come spontaneously out of your head. Is that true, or what about the
That's my notes right there,
why is it in that shape?
so I can find the lines better. You learn this stuff in Toastmasters, by the way. Yeah, now, over here, I have my complete speech for tonight, which is about 18 pages. All right, I'm not going to memorize all this stuff. I don't think anybody in this room can memorize 18 pages. So, yeah. Now, if I had a regular routine to do, I would not use notes at all. But I was told, and I learned this, but I didn't learn how they do it. They put clues all over the stage for the comics to find. So if they get stuck with, they walk over here. They walk over there. So, now, don't forget that your hearing aids, wonderful devices they be, can also act as a receiver. Somebody will be sitting back there giving you the next line to your joke. So that's how George Carlin did it in his final years. And I'm no George Carlin. I wrote questions if you don't ask. Go ahead.
Wasn't Bob Newhart an accountant?
Yes, he was.
Pretty funny guy.
Yeah, one of the best, yes.
If you could make-
Bob Newhart was an accountant. And that's true. And I got a feeling that when he was probably a funny accountant, too. Go ahead, Rob.
Who are some of your favorite comedians and why?
Right off the bat, Robin Williams. The man could do an hour and a half of nothing but stream of consciousness comedy, and with those voices and everything, he was just the best comic I've ever seen. Now, The next layer down, I have a couple guys you probably never heard of. Mitch Hedberg. Anybody?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. Mitch Hedberg, brilliant comedian. Sadly died, but he was very good. Another one, I'll see hands here, John Pinette. Go home and Google John Pinette. John. Pinette, P-I-N-E-T-T-E.
Could be, Connect. Connect?
Pinette.
That guy.
So you know him?
Yes.
No. Excellent comic.
Yes.
Just as a basic stand-up comic, he was great. I think that Hedberg was a bit more atmospheric than he was, but John Pinette could really put on a great show, and he talked mostly about his weight. He was a big guy. He loved to eat, surprise, but he could make anything funny about food and his weight. He's excellent.
Did you ever think Milton Berle was funny?
When I was a kid, no.
How about,
Well, unfortunately for Milton Berle, I saw his performance on Saturday Night Live, and I threw him in the trash heap. That was awful.
I don't remember that one.
What other comment you have in mind?
Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett?
Loved him.
Yeah, he was. You know Buddy Hackett? You should ask about Buddy Hackett, everybody. Buddy Hackett worked up in the Catskills, of course. A lot of them did. He went on to the Mike Douglas show, and he said for 1 year straight, he smoked marijuana every day. At the end of that 1 year, he had not written a single new joke. So he stopped smoking pot and went back to writing jokes. So there you are.
He was on the Carson show a lot.
Oh, yeah, quite a lot. And he just killed Johnny Carson. His jokes were great.
Yeah, I was hysterical,
Yeah.
laughing. My husband sleeping next to me in makeup. What happened? What happened?
Buddy
Don't
Hackett.
sleep, it's Buddy Hackett.
Well, you write your own routine.
Well, there you are. Okay.
Do you think it's a different skill set to have a comedy writer for you and then perform their jokes? Or do you think it's the same as writing your own jokes?
Well, this is an easy one for me, Francis, because the work's been done by Jerry Steinfeld already. He said, you cannot get into comedy today if you can't write a good joke. Years gone by with guys like Bob Hope, George Burns, etc., they all hired people to write the jokes. But today, you can't do that. You have to be a one-person act. You have to write your own jokes and perform them. You have to be your own promoter. You have to go out there and get time at the open mic night, which I'm never going to do, by the way.
Well, like people write for Saturday Night Live and for The Tonight Show.
Yeah. You're talking about professional comedy writers, yes. That's kind of a different job. If you're going to be a comic who stands up in front of people and tells jokes, you need to write your own jokes. And the hardest part about writing a joke is writing a joke that somebody else had not written before you. Now that happened to me. I wrote all this stuff here myself. I'll just say it came to me and I wrote it down. I went back to the internet. I looked up everything. I found one joke that somebody beat me to. But apparently the statute of limitations had run out on it, so I could use it. Now, remember the joke I said about having had the face for radio and the voice for newspaper? Jerry Springer used that joke first. Jerry Springer, of all people. So I'm giving him attribution now. So, Jerry, if you're still up there, I did you good.
What about Jack Benny? You know Jack Benny?
I got a hand here. I'll be right with you.
What do you think about physical comedy?
You have a favorite physical comic? Danny Kaye,
I'm thinking also Sid Caesar.
Sid Caesar, yeah. Yeah. Physical comedy and physical comics, those are the people that can use their body to get you to laugh a little bit harder at their jokes than you should usually do. Caesar was very good at that. There were also, Chevy Chase from Saturday Night Live was good at that. I'm trying to think of somebody else. Anybody have an example? Coward Burnett? Yep. How about that Tim Conway? Yeah. That's a kind of a different breed of person. I wish they had more physical comics out there today. They don't. Apparently everybody wants to get into the comedy clubs, maybe 5 a night, so they can pick up their $200 or so. And they don't really study physical comedy. They don't work it like those old timers did. Well, they met Laurel Hardy, Buster Keaton. Those guys couldn't be beat. They did not have sound that can make you laugh. So that's the best. I'm sorry, you had a question, Mita.
I just asked about Jack Benny.
Oh, Jack Benny?
If you were.
Was he really 39 when he started comedy?
He was probably 56. I don't know.
Was he ever true about his age? I remember they filmed a party when he turned 40. And then he found out he wasn't as funny, so he went back to being 39. Yes, the timing of Jack Benny was superb. Not many people have been as good.
Lucille Ball,
In what way?
physical.
Oh, there you are.
Lucille Ball with physical.
Oh, yeah,
comedy.
that's another good example. Lucille Ball. She had the talent with the absolute handicap of being a good-looking woman. You're not supposed to be funny if you're a good-looking woman, and she proved that. It's not true. She was great.
The Candy Factory.
The Vita Vita Benjamin, sorry.
Did you or do you go to comedy clubs to try to pick up things from other comics? And if so, what kind of things do you learn?
I've been in 2 comedy clubs in my entire life. One was in New York City. We were being visited by people from Kansas. My wife is gone. I can't get any support on this one. They were visiting us from Kansas. They wanted to go to New York City and stay overnight and see a comedy show. We agreed. We came up here. It was fun. I enjoyed it. The other time was when I actually went up there and did that. Do I pick up other people's jokes? I listen to how they created the joke, what process they used to get to that joke. Not so much because I didn't want to steal their joke. I probably will sometime in the future, but I rather go in deeper and find out how did you get that nugget from that charred piece of coal. To me, that's more important. Winding down, folks. Yes, Jessica.
Have you had any interest in doing political comedy? And we've left out a whole bunch of people like Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul, black comics, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's anything different about their humor as opposed to apolitical humor that you have?
You're correct, I'm apolitical. I won't go into political comedy. Something about politics makes me feel a little bit dirty every time I talk about it. But I will tell you, now, people you mentioned are profane. When they get up on the stage, they just let the F-bombs drop like crazy. A long time ago, I decided I'm not going to do that. It was after I met my wife and I didn't want to become a better person, so I learned to not swear so much. But what was funny that happened here at Winchester Gardens, we announced that we were going to have comedy improv, and we were looking for people to come up and do it with us. Sweet little old lady, you all are sweet little old ladies, okay? Came up to me and said, "I'm sorry, I will not be able to go." And I thought, well, okay. She goes, "I just can't deal with all that profanity." And I thought to myself, I haven't said one word that's improper. We don't do profanity. But that was the image. And that's, who asked the question? You asked a question about Pryor and those guys? Yeah. Now, as far as my take on them, I think they're great. Carlin, Pryor, Williams, all those guys. Even some of the new guys out here who apparently come up to the microphone swearing. But every now and then you'll catch that nugget of a joke, which is all I'm waiting for. Folks, I can't tell you how... Oh, I have another hand. Sorry.
Well, do you think you have an insight to getting some comics to come here and perform for us and not use too much profanity? Some of your classmates are...
Bleep, bleep, no.
I remember one girl
Yeah.
who was your classmate.
I was going to talk about her.
Yeah.
We had a gal in our class, she was about, what, 45, 50 years old? And all she talked about in her routine were her breasts. And I never thought in my life I would ever get tired of listening to a woman talk about her breasts. But it happened. That's the reason why they're not here tonight. I could have invited them, but no. And by the way, there's only 2 mics in this room, and there would be 5 or 6 of them, and that wouldn't work. Rob?
Do you remember Buddy Hackett?
Buddy Hackett, of course, yes.
He lived up in Englewood Cliffs.
Englewood? Where's that? Is it New Jersey? Okay, I'm still a new guy here. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania.
Englewood is the other side of the George Washington Bridge.
Okay.
He's from
There
Brooklyn
on
originally.
the bridge, and you go, you drive a little, and there is Englewood.
Huh, okay. Well,
It's great. Great place to live, but it's all.
Rob?
Can you give us an example of the anatomy of a joke? Sam, take us through the beginning, the middle, and the end of creating one of your jokes.
I learned this at class, by the way. I had no idea until 6 months ago. I always thought the punchline is supposed to be unexpected. That's the funniest you can do a joke. Is they're sitting there, your audience is sitting there listening to your joke, you're doing a setup, and then you come up with something completely out of the whack. And that's supposed to be funny. But I learned that it's called tension and release. Tension, release. You build up the tension of a joke, and then the punchline releases it. Gives them the permission to laugh. That's the anatomy of a joke. It can be done, there's an unlimited number of ways to be done. Probably have not yet discovered them all. Dave?
Hecklers, you ever get any real bad ones?
You mean other than Stan? Now, I've never been heckled in a performance. In real life, yes, I have been heckled. And yes, I do have comebacks, just in case somebody wants to heckle me. So, please don't. Because I dropped the profanity rule when those happen. Okay. Any others? Oh, well, I can't thank you enough for being here tonight.
Thank you.